Welcome everyone. Today we're here with my good friend Navid Moazzez from navidmoazzez.com. If you don't know Navid yet, he is a lifestyle entrepreneur, blogger, podcaster. He has the Lifestyle Architect podcast, and he's also the founder of the Branding Summit. Branding Summit is like the #1 branding conference this year. It has like over 80 entrepreneurs speaking on different aspects of personal branding and also things like list building, growing your blog, all of that kind of stuff. So, Navid, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Primoz. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You were on my podcast, and now it's kind of the opposite here. You're also on the summit, obviously. So yeah, really happy to be here.
Yeah, and today we're going to take a behind the scenes look behind this amazing branding summit that's going to launch in just a couple of weeks. So, can you tell us, first of all, what a branding summit is and then why you decided to create it?
Sure. As you know, I was doing my podcast, The Lifestyle Architects, for some time, and I launched earlier this year. But I used that as a vehicle to build relationships, kind of more than using it for my business. Obviously, that can generate business, but for me, it was just building awesome relationships. And
You build
then
relationships with people like Neil Patel, Selena
yeah,
Soo.
I didn't have Neil Patel specifically on my show, but I think he knew about me, so it was a little bit easier when I did reach out. Same with John Lee Dumas. I've been providing value, and I know you're a big proponent of that. Like you wrote your, epic guide to kind of surround yourself with successful people, and that's, podcasting is actually a very good way to do that. Like it doesn't, when I started, I don't know if, I told you, my story pretty well. I started out with, an interview with Pat Flynn, and that kind of, you know, I got very excited about as I went on, like doing interviews with people and really providing value that way. Also sharing, someone else's story on my blog at first because I didn't have a podcast when I launched in mid-June of 2013, and then in April of 2014, I just launched a podcast, and that's kind of I started to think more. I saw my friend Jesse Krieger was doing a virtual summit for kind of lifestyle entrepreneurs. He was doing a summit there, so he got some success. I've seen Marissa Murgatroyd. She did many summits like this, superhero summits, like super professional. And then as I went on, I did more and more research. I was like, this is actually a business model. This is kind of, even though I wanted to do this also to provide massive value and like, maybe create an educational event, I saw maybe if I do a summit around personal branding, which was kind of what I focused on and helping clients with, I can even kind of accelerate my brand, so to speak, and achieve my goals faster. But I can also feature other experts that I admire, and other people I look up to, and I'm friends. Some people I also got on the summits that are maybe not on Neil Patel's level, but they are still doing amazing things, and I wanted to highlight them as well, such as yourself. You're up and comer. You have some great stuff going on. I wanted to feature people like that too. So that's kind of the backstory. It was just a Sunday evening, I think. I was sitting there, thinking to myself, how can I kind of accelerate my business and kind of keep building relationships, which I really enjoy, but kind of take it to the next level. And that's where I come up with the idea of hosting a virtual summit. And I didn't really know really how to set things up. I just decided to kind of make it happen no matter what. And that's kind of your mindset too. You figure things out, and that's kind of where we are today. And I'm happy to share strategies and so on in this interview.
Awesome. Yeah. So for those readers who maybe haven't been to an online summit yet, what will it look like?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, virtual summit. It can be a series of recorded video interviews. It can even be audio, or it can also be live with experts in your field. You need to figure out who are the top players in your field, because you need some influencer major players. So that's kind of where I would start. You can make lists of them. You can go out there, do some research on in your topic. You should actually do, if you have a blog or podcast, you should have made research even before you started your show. But if you're launching your business, let's say with a virtual summit, which is a fantastic idea to do that as well, kind of build not only the relationships but also kind of researching your competition, so to speak, and like make lists of people you want to have on your summit, who you want to feature, who you want to kind of build this relationship with. That's powerful. So it's a very simple concept of like podcast. It also can be interviews, but for a summit, it's kind of more of an organized setting and kind of an event, and it's a little higher perceived value, and that's why it can do very well for your business and for your brand to kind of accelerate things. So just recorded interviews or kind of live recordings, and that's something I want to get into myself more maybe next year. I want to actually try to do the live summit. Social Media Examiner, they have their summits, and I know they have live recordings. Nick Unsworth is doing one now for Life on Fire. I think he has also the live setting, and that's quite powerful. But I know health summits. That's kind of the industry I was looking at. I was not looking at the online marketing space and personal branding. I was kind of going outside my industry, which I recommend people do when they launch a business, because that's how they can stand out, how they can really see what's working. I looked at their marketing funnels. I looked at kind of if they were making money, if they like what's working. I signed up to their email list. I signed up to their kind of the free event. Usually it's free for maybe 7 days or however you're running the summit. And that's kind of where I figured out, okay, I need to kind of look into what's working with the marketing funnel and also the design and all that. We can talk about things, how I set mine up.
Yeah, yeah. So how will your branding summit look like specifically? Like, what can people expect? Like, I know it starts in like the third week of November and it goes on for a couple of weeks. What can they expect to see each week?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously it starts November 17, and I already started kind of, promoting it and reaching out, and I'm happy to share how I kind of got so many people on for it. But the thing is, with mine, I decided I could never do this, live recordings. I kind of decided this very early, and that's important. I also defined my theme for my summit. That was kind of one of the first things I did. I said to myself, it's not going to be, just branding. It's just not going to be that. It's going to be how to build kind of your authority and personal brand online. And that's where I wanted to make it, so, very in depth, like really good information, not just the regular stuff you hear everywhere. Obviously, I wanted actionable advice. I wanted people to be able to take the information they learn in my summit, and if they take action, they can get some massive results. That was my pure goal. I didn't obviously grow my email list and all that is nice, but if I don't provide the value, it doesn't really matter that much, because I wanted to build this relationship, because I knew a lot of people would come in be from all the speakers, and I wouldn't have gotten all the speakers to help me if it wasn't a great experience for them. But back to your question, really what it is, you get access for free from November 17 to December 14. So we basically have about 80, over 80 interviews, and in some cases you did a presentation, which was, I always appreciate that. People are, great way to stand out. But so that's what it is. Like, interviews going live every day. So I have maybe 3 to 4 interviews going live every day from November 17 to December 14, and that's probably over 100 hours of education. So as you can imagine, it's sometimes a little bit hard to consume all that unless you're like this super fan, and they want to consume everything. But Creative Live is another example. They have sometimes their kind of marathons when they're having 30 days when people can watch a course. They had one in, I think it was People Skills recently with Vanessa Van Edwards, I think. Yeah, that's the one from Science of People, I think. So that's a great example of some, like, Creative Live is obviously a big company, but they are using this to kind of get more people in, but they also sell the conference. They sell their live, they sell their recordings, they sell some bonuses, and that's something you can use as well for virtual summit. You can see you don't have to do it for 30 days like I'm doing, like 28 days. You can do it more simple, like maybe just 7 days of maybe have 15 to 30 experts on. Don't stress yourself out. What I did is hard to, you can imagine yourself, like it's 80 people, like organizing this thing is not easy, but it will really skyrocket things for me personally, and like for the people involved, they see it's a great experience.
Yeah, awesome. So, when people are thinking about something that you're talking about right now, like a virtual summit, it's very likely that they will get overwhelmed. They'll be like, oh, but how can I get, 80 people to the summit? I mean, there's all these people that are, high influencers. How can I reach out to them? And then also like, well, should I set up an affiliate marketing thing? How should I price my products? Should I create a website? How many websites? There's all the things that you can do. So, for someone who, would want to start a summit themselves, what are the main things to focus on, and what are the other things that can come, later at the point at some time in the future, so you don't get so overwhelmed when you start out.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this first, define your theme. Like really, then the more niche, the better, because then you can also set yourself apart. It's kind of when you're defining a market for your kind of overall business, and then it's easier to position yourself as, the go-to person in that space. And that's one thing I did. I wanted to kind of, focus on online entrepreneurs like, bloggers, podcasters, speakers, authors, coaches, consultants, because I knew they could benefit, from the information. Obviously, other people too, but I wanted to focus on them. And even you could go more niche. I could only maybe have a conference for, how can bloggers build their personal brand. I can even go more niche. I decided to kind of focus on the spectrum. So I have, I have different segments like how you can build your audience. I have, for example, I have also like for even SEO, like I have stuff like that too, but I always focus on like what's important in terms of building this online brand, right? So that's what I think first. Define your theme. So you can do a summit for maybe busy, fitness for busy moms, whatever that is. Like you can do a summit for, productivity in some case, but you can niche down there. Maybe you focus on a specific market for coaches, for, even speakers, whatever market you want to focus on, like niche down a little bit, and then you try to kind of, then after that, it's all about planning the event, like kind of thinking about, okay, what's this gonna look like? How many speakers am I going to have? Because for me, it was not like I maybe made a mistake. I shouldn't have had, I didn't have 80 speakers in mind, and all this. I didn't have this set structure in mind when I started, but it can be very powerful if you do, because you're gonna save time, and obviously, that's super important when you're doing this. You can kind of cut the learning curve too, and set your event up faster. So figure out if it's going to be pre-recorded or if it's going to be live, and then think about how many speakers you're going to have on your event, because that's going to kind of, you're going to see how, I mean, if you have like 80 speakers, it's going to be a little bit hard to organize. But I would recommend maybe you have 15 to 30, like if you're starting out, because then you can still get some traction. You can still have some, we can get into this A-list influencers, like some maybe B-listers, where it's a little bit, above your level. Then you have maybe some people are, yeah, C-list. They are still, they are happy to share the content. But if you get into, that's kind of planning the event, and you can also figure out, is it going to be free? It can be free. That's a great way to build your list if that's your goal. It can be paid too. I've seen events like that, and they work great if you have, it all depends on your goal. But here's another thing: charities. I've seen people doing events for charity, and why this is so powerful is if you can kind of pitch your idea or tell your why to other speakers, they are more likely to come on. Let's say you already have a successful business, but you really want to connect with some amazing people, then you can do it for charity. Maybe give it away, build a school, whatever that would be, right? And that's a really powerful way. You will have an easier time to kind of explain your cause to speakers if you do that. And it's not just about kind of making money. My event is not for charity, but it's still, people get a lot of value. I spend, so many hours on this. I believe it's still a great experience. So that's the first way, a little bit monetization model, planning the event. And then we can get into speakers now if you want to kind of talk how people can figure out who they should have on their event.
Yeah. Okay. So first you said select a team. So you want to know, what exactly your summit is going to be about, and even go more niche if you don't not a big name out there yet. You can go more niche, and it's going to be much easier to get people
Mm-hmm.
come join you, and also it's much easier to get listeners.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is you said, okay, make the plan, decide how many speakers you want to have, if you want to do it live, if you want to do it recorded. Probably if you're just starting out, recorded is easier because it takes
Can be, yeah.
it doesn't take as much organizing, and then if things go wrong, you can still fix them. Maybe doing a live summit might be harder.
Yeah,
And
it can be harder. I would do probably a little bit less speakers if you are doing live, maybe 10 to 15. And it can be a great experience. I know my friend Jesse Krieger, he did a live summit. Marissa Murgatroyd, she's doing live recordings, I believe. Nick Unsworth is doing live. And it's just about how you plan the event. If you have maybe live recordings, you need, obviously, you can have it on a longer time, or you can have it around a specific time that you kind of ask the speakers, maybe your anchor speakers, like kind of the big names and big name influencer, because they're obviously usually they are very busy. So they just tell, like, maybe you clear your schedule for 3 weeks and say anytime would work, and just let them know this, that you are super flexible, and that's easier to kind of get them on if you're doing a live summit. Obviously for a pre-recorded, doesn't really matter, just schedule the calls, have a time frame when you want to get done. So maybe you start off in, let's say now we're recording this, it's November, and you want to do a summit in next year, January or February. Then you say to yourself, maybe I'm going to start doing recordings now, but you need to figure out also some speakers, they might not be able to jump on the call like for a month, or sometimes it takes some time. So figure this out. Maybe it will take you from idea to launch, maybe 3 months, if you want to do it really well. Even for me it took longer because I had so many speakers, and I had also to go through the learning process, which kind of is how to set things up with the funnel and all that, and emails and everything that goes into kind of automating this a little bit and making it like a smooth process. So also the speakers, there's a great experience for them. That was very important for me personally.
okay, so then the next thing you mentioned is like you have to decide on the business model. Is it going to be free? Is it going to be paid? Is there going to be a charity? So what is your current model, and why did you decide to use this one?
Yeah, my current model, since I'm still growing my business and brand, I wanted to focus on email subscribers. So I decided to make the whole event free. I give away everything for free. Can over at the brandingsummit.com, you have the landing page. So I made it very kind of well designed. I had some sites I looked at. I'm kind of looked what's working, what elements they had. So I did research. I'm a big proponent of doing research before you start the process, and that's what I focused on. And then I had obviously have a great designer on my team. You don't need that. You can also use something like Optimize Press if you're really on a budget, to set this up, or even lead pages, something like that. But I wanted to make it very professional when people saw this, and it's working, because people are blown away when they see kind of the work I put into this, and it's just working. People are just think it's a great experience. It looks very professional, and that was kind of what I wanted to also build more of a premium experience for people. So it's free to sign up from there. So then they are taken to kind of a thank you page where I have an offer. It's kind of an early bird offer. So people get the information, on the thank you page. They signed up, and the event is free from November 17th to December 14th. But they can still, have a very good offer there, so people can still check this out. Have some bonuses included. So I make this kind of a package deal, which is the key to making it like so good. People can simply, of course, some people are not going to take action right away. I already, at the time of this recording, I started to make some sales, but it's all about, during the summit, I think more people are going to watch some interviews and they say, oh, I want this, I want to own this content, I want to have access to this Facebook group, I want to have, the bonus interviews, the Q&As, which you are doing one Q&A call actually with my community by the summit, which is awesome. And I have 15 more of those, and that's just a way to add a little bit of value. Like I have Marissa Murgatroyd provided an event, in Los Angeles. So that's just, if you have your own summit, think about ways, if you're going to have it free, if you want to grow your list, which I'm sure many in your audience probably, they like to kind of grow their business, that's probably the best model then. And then having this awesome kind of upsell offer where you can provide them some, obviously all the recordings of the event, and then something extra, that can really, you can also make money off your event if you do this. So that was my model, and that was the reason for it too.
Yeah, I love it. So basically, what you're doing is you said, okay, one of the main goals for this summit is going to be to grow my email list. So if you wanted to do that, you had to make it free. If you make the, first entry into the summit page, you would get a lot less people, to do your email list and actually to watch the summit. But you decided to give pretty much the whole thing away for free, just like Creative Live does. So if you come and you watch the interviews when they're running, they're completely free, and you can watch as many as you want. And then it's not like you're selling something to people, but if they want more, if they want the next step, if they want to have all of the recordings to access for their life, or if they want to join some Q&As or the communities, then they can also kind of support this summit of yours by investing in themselves and getting the all access pass for the summit.
Yeah, correct. And another thing that's important I did was I looked at, as I said, health summits, but they also only gave access for 48 hours to each interview. So let's say your interview is going live in the third week of November.
Mm-hmm.
We did that on how to surround yourself with successful people and all that. It was a great presentation, and it's 2 hours there. People gotta need to consume that content within the first 48 hours from the time it goes live. So it adds this kind of this scarcity. People need to kind of be there. People need to engage in the comments. People need to just simply watch the whole thing if they're interested in the specific presenter or like the content that I put out there on this day. They need to be there. They need to watch that for 48 hours. Otherwise, they need to buy the summit. That's also a way they can get access. So if someone buys the summit today, for example, they get access before everyone else to everything. That's also an incentive, to really have that in a membership. I use Wishlist, which is great, where integrates with all the payment, PayPal, and different affiliate options we can get into as well. So that's just how I set it up. I have my designer do all these things, so I don't really do much of the technical stuff. But honestly, don't hold yourself back. You think it's too technical, hire someone, maybe Odesk, Elance, they can help you out a little bit, or have someone on your team. Or if you don't have the budget to do that either, try to figure it out yourself. You can do this. It's not like I think you built your membership site yourself, right?
Yeah, mine is very ghetto.
Yeah, but you don't need more. Okay, the experience in mine and all this probably gonna look a little bit nicer because my
Mm-hmm.
designer did it. But still, if you just try to put things live, that's important. Okay, here's what you need. You're gonna need a landing page. That's what you need. That's the first thing people go to, like the brandingsummit.com. That's my landing page. When people sign up there, they go to the brandingsummit.com and a thank you page, pretty much, right? So that's the
Yeah.
second thing, and that's pretty much what you need. And then you can have kind of a clone of your thank you page, a little bit different. Maybe have this special offer and thanking people for signing up. That's important. So say you're in. Here's what to do next, and I have kind of 3 steps there, so people know. Okay, I signed up for a free event. We talked a little bit about this the other day, how I can make, because I was not really happy of how I was getting people, to my funnel, and really just kind of felt right away I was selling something. But then I changed things up, and I made it more, hey, you got just into this free summit. I will send you all the information you need. Just hold on tight, basically, and then I say when the dates are, and then kind of as a step 3 or whatever, I say here's what you can get, like $300 off, this branding summit, because I wanted to provide this massive deal for people. So it's hard to say no. Obviously, some people, they still want to check out the summit because it is free from November 17th to December 14th. November 17th to December 14th. But that's just how it is. And some people that are super fans, they really want to take action, they want to own this, they buy right away.
Okay, great. So basically what you need to do, you can use something like lead pages to, set really nice landing pages up. And what do you do with the actual like recordings? Like, do you use a specific platform to host them?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned lead pages, and that is great to some extent. I don't know how much you can do customization with lead pages, but it's probably you need a designer developer to do that. And in order to make your landing page great, you need to have this kind of very clear. You can just check mine out, but it's like you have this clear opt-in at the top of the page. And I use lead boxes, like for when you click on get free access, you get a lead box, and that's what I use. And it also tracks conversions and all that kind of stuff. You can look in your analytics for that as well. But then of the page, lead page is not that good for having the kind of official landing page. You can't, if you're really like have this tool and use it, fine, you can use it. You're still gonna get people to sign up, but you cannot feature like images of all the people. That's what I have on mine. If you've seen it, I have like images. I have kind of the agenda there. So we programmed, you can click on week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, because I have such a big event. That's why I decided also custom it worked better for me, but for you can also set things up with optimized press. I see a lot of people using that, even though I don't personally, my designer doesn't like it, so he would never use something like that, but it's still a great tool for someone who doesn't have a lot of experience. Lead pages, yeah, it's very straightforward. If you don't want to like feature the images and so on, you can probably set things up with lead pages as well. But technology side of videos, then Vimeo, I use that. Vimeo, you can use Vistia. I just happen to have an account, premium account on Vimeo, and that's great. About I think $200 per year. I think I pay for that, and you can upload 20 gigabytes per week. So I have a lot of gigabytes, but I did this over some time, so it's kind of worked out well. So I can just upload there. I can also have a call to action at the end of the video, so I can add kind of link there in the video, so I can have, hey, enjoy this video. Click here to get access to the all branding summit all access pass. And if people watch it to the very end and they are excited, they might even click there. Even though I have on my kind of inner pages of the structure of the site, I have also the kind of the interview name, like let's say the brandingsummit.com, and then I have maybe the guest of for today's presentation. So I have also call to actions there, enjoy this session, you can upgrade now. I have like a banner in the sidebar. So I kind of thought about these things. I wanted to make it easy for people who want to upgrade to own the summit, but at the same time, I make it a great experience for everyone who's watching it for free. And just, some people, they just don't want to buy it, they can't afford it, or they might not be the right fit at this moment.
Okay, so let's say you have the team defined, you have your business model defined, you've made a plan, you want this many speakers, it's gonna go over this many days, it's gonna be recorded, you have all of these things figured out, but then you still have to get the speakers for the summit. So if you were just starting out, how would you reach out to those speakers, and especially try to get some of the better speakers in your field?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think something I get asked quite a bit, since I have the top players in my field, pretty much. But the thing is here with speaker. First of all, if you are just starting out, I had some credibility. I had my podcast, so just it's a disclaimer. But if you're just starting out, I would just ask myself before I do anything else, what's in it for them. Just ask yourself this question and think to yourself, if you were, a big influencer, super busy, would you kind of do this? You have to give them a good reason why. And there's a couple of things you can do. One thing is to maybe give them an opportunity to sell on your summit. That's maybe they are just this massive speaker, massive like influencer in your field, and you just want that person on, but you have no idea how to kind of present this to them, so it kind of sounds great, so it's like a no-brainer for them. So then they can probably, if they have a flagship product, they can sell you, and you can even say, hey, I don't even have to take affiliate commission, and you can also make them affiliate for your event and say, hey, if you make sale for my event, you get 100%. I mean, this is like if you really want to speak. I didn't do that, so I didn't want to. I have speakers today. I have actually speakers who want to be on the summit and they want to promote it. But if I was just starting out, I would try to make it like as a no-brainer for them, and maybe not 100%, but I would like try to work something out with them so they can get as much benefit out of it. And another thing you can do is having them provide maybe they have an opt-in gift, like a free ebook guide download. So you can tell them, hey, you can provide, something related to what we talk about. Maybe you already have this created, and they can go, let's say, to their website.com/, summit or branding summit in this case, for example. And that would be a great way for them to provide some additional value, but also getting maybe people from, the summit to sign up to their email list, which is super valuable for them, even more than maybe, pitching on the summit. But I made it very clear that I didn't want to have a pitch fest. I wanted to make, that's also a way how I made mine stand out, is not any pitches on my summit at all. And but it can be hard when you're starting. So that's why I gave some tips there, how you can actually maybe provide more value to a big influencer. I wouldn't do that to everyone, just as, as a side note. I would just do this to the big ones that are hard to get, all right? Like, for example, in my space, maybe it would be someone like, if I had like reached out to Gary Vaynerchuk, maybe I would like have to buy his books. Maybe if I bought like 100 books or 1,000 books or whatever, yeah, I'm sure he probably would maybe say yes. He would at least consider it. Same with Chris Brogan or someone like that. I would, go out of my way. If you really want this person, you have to do something else. Like, I know a story of someone who got Tim Ferriss for this event, like mastermind talks in Toronto. I think Jason, he had this event and he got Tim Ferriss. But how did he do that? He bought like tons of copies of his book. So it was not like Tim Ferriss, yeah, sure, let's do it. He actually provided value to this person. So that's a way to do it. Like, you just have to be a little bit creative. I think outside the box. Like, if you buy books of a speaker, of course they are more likely to be there. I didn't do this yet because I was kind of bootstrapping my event and all this. But if you have a budget, for sure, and you really want a speaker, and can really be, the ROI can come back from that if you have a guy like Tim Ferriss. So, or whatever that name would be in your field, right? So that's probably what I would do, and really have, the B-listers and C-listers, kind of people who are not that well known. They can probably just be on, maybe they can provide this little opt-in gift or whatever, right? So that's what I would do.
Okay, awesome. So we have a few more minutes left. Let's go over one more question.
Sure.
So, when you put all of these things together, I know it sounds like a lot of work, and it is. Like, you've been working on this for months. I remember we were talking about it like I think in May or June, you were saying like, oh yeah, I want to do this summit in like October. Now it's in November.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it's a lot of work. So in the end, people might ask themselves like, hey, is this even worth it? Like, why should I do this? Can't I just do podcasting? So if you can share, some specific reasons of why online summits are so much better than podcasting, that would be great.
I mean, I love podcasting and I do it for relationship building, but a virtual summit can do the same things for your business, and you can even use, your interviews for the summit eventually, depending on what model you choose, to put it on the podcast. And that's also a great way actually to provide value to the speakers. If you tell them it's not only going to be, the summit and I'm going to sell it, you can also say, hey, I'm going to just use this summit to build my list. Like, be upfront with it, and then you tell them I'm also going to put it in my podcast. So that's also another way to add value to speakers, by the way. And all repurpose the content, guest post, if you say, provide this on a different site. But back to this, like, you're building your brand by association, and you can position yourself as an expert super fast by doing this. Like an event, let's say you have the #1 event in your field, like I created for personal branding. Obviously that sets myself apart. And being a great interviewer and great, like, someone who provides them a lot of value and make them look good, that helps. I just posted, I started promoting yesterday on Facebook, and some people started, Navid is such a great interviewer, he's, such a great event, obviously, that makes me look super good. I mean, I didn't tell them to do that, they do it because they want to. I didn't even tell them to share. Hey, here you go, you can, I'd be happy if you share this with your community, but they don't have to do that. They are just happy to do that. And I got them on for affiliate relationships, and that's just partnerships I built through their relationships. I really focus on this hard, and becoming friends with them essentially. Like, when I interview someone, I try to do a lot of research before I get on a call with them, so I know something about them. I know their story quite well, so I can lead the conversation, and they are just amazed by how detailed I can go in interviews sometimes, because that's the way I like to do it personally. So that's a great way. So we have, branding by association. We have building great relationships, which, you can do that with podcasting, but you did it with virtual summits. And now to the interesting part, you can skyrocket your email list. I mean, I have probably before this, before I putting together this summit, obviously I'm still early on, so I don't have the full stats and everything yet, but I can share you what I have. So before the summit, I probably got my best day, maybe when I put it together a webinar or something, maybe 30 to 40 subscribers was my best day. And you normally would get maybe 4 to 15 subscribers per day or something like that. That's it. Now with the summit, I've collected over the last, four and a half days or so, about I think 450 subscribers, something like that. And yesterday was like 216 in one day. And this just from 2 people. Actually, you helped me out a little bit, Primoz. So thanks so much. But like from this not just 2 people mailing out so far. And you might ask you, how do I get people to mail out? Make it easy for them. Like provide sample emails, provide graphics for them. Make it so easy for them, like so it's a no-brainer. I have people emailing me back like, thanks, you made it so easy for me just to show up and then share this with my community because I love the experience. But maybe I wouldn't have time to put together all of this myself. So I kind of make it a no-brainer for them to share if they enjoy the experience, and that's super important. Then okay, so I grew my list fast. I'm gonna have a big case study after the summit, so I don't know how much I will grow it. Hopefully a lot. So that's just a podcast could never do that. A podcast interview, people don't share a podcast with their list usually. I've had a few occasions when that happened, and that's great. But a virtual summit, it's more likely they will share because it's such an event around something, and yeah, it just works in a different way. It's higher perceived value. And the last thing I have there is if you are struggling with creating a product or really having something for sale, you also can create a product super fast. Like use the recordings, bundle up with some bonuses, like get the speakers to contribute something, from maybe one module from their course, or it can be a live event, because that's also value for the speakers. It didn't take them any more time to put this together. It's just there, and if they enjoy their content, they can also purchase the full thing for them. So it's kind of a win-win situation there. So creating a product, I know summits that are making 5 to 7 figures, per virtual summit. In one case, Sean Croxton from undergroundwellness.com, he is the master in kind of putting together these amazing virtual summits, and he's doing them in the health industry. He makes 7 figures on some of his summits, and it's just amazing. I looked at his marketing funnel, I looked at what's working, and I personally hope to kind of be able to do an interview with him in the future, because just admire what he does, and he took this business model to a whole nother level. So I hope this kind of makes you, if you're like listening to this or watching this, a little bit interested at least to put in the work to put together like epic virtual summit in your industry, because it can really position yourself as the thought leader, the expert go-to person in your field, and you can kind of grow your email list. You can create a product, you can make sales, and who knows what can happen. That can just skyrocket things for you.
Awesome. Yeah, Navid, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing this process with us. Like we took a look at how to create your own summit,
Sure.
which tools to use just to get started. But if you're listening to this and you listen through this whole interview, then what you really want to do is you want to go check out Navid's summit. So you can go to thebrandingsummit.com, you can sign up, it's free, and you can also take a look at how Navid did things, how he designed things, and think about why he did it. Like, why did he split it into 4 weeks? Why did he use pictures of speakers? Try to always think about what are the people who are doing something really good doing, and what are they doing, and why are they doing it. So thanks again, Navid, for coming to the show, and I'm sure this will be very useful for a lot of people that are trying to start a virtual summit themselves.
Thanks so much, Primoz. It was a pleasure being on.